Yo! Yes, everybody, we are back for some more One Piece! Wahoo! Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are here with part 2 of Dressrosa, and I must confess, ladies and gentlemen, this might be my favorite One Piece review yet. I know that part 1 was already hefty. It was like coming in at like 40 minutes. I still felt like I didn't go over everything. Bro, all of the meat and the gas is in this second half, and I can't wait. I can't wait, chat. I'm here. Before we get too deep into this video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. We are on our way to 20,000 subscribers, and I would sure to love you, have you around. Like goal, let's say 2,000. Let's do it. So when we last left off of Dressrosa, we have Doflamingo launching the Birdcage over Dressrosa and launching an attack on an entire country. But an entire country. This man Doflamingo is insane. What the fuck? Like, bro, we thought it was crazy when like NL was gonna take Skypiea out of the sky. Bro, this man Doflamingo, yo, he's him. He's him, chat. I don't know what to tell you. Allies, enemies, civilians, and Marines are in the same desperate battlefield, and this raises the tension to almost Marineford levels, but with a bit of a different flavor. This is rebellion from the inside rather than the outside. This isn't caused by some random pirates or things like that. This is caused by one man forcing everybody to fight each other. So when we previously left off, we have Usopp and Robin's squad attempting to take down Sugar, who is responsible for turning everybody into toys. Through their plan is to feed Sugar this pepper that is so hot it would knock her out or knock her unconscious, and unfortunately it doesn't work. They managed to drive away Sugar's bodyguard, Treble, the guy with all the snot. They managed to drive him away, but Usopp actually ends up fighting Sugar for a little bit and ends up getting knocked out, unfortunately. And so when Sugar sees the pepper, they find out the plan. They're like, you know what? I got something for you. How about you eat this pepper? So she puts the pepper in Usopp's mouth, and dude, his face scares her so bad. She faints. She's knocked out by Usopp's face. Usopp was actually the MVP of Dressrosa. Like, bro, what? Bro, this is like the same thing that happened with Perona, when like Perona's the little ghost, they didn't affect him because of how negative he is. I was rolling. I had tears down my face when I saw this happen. This was a fantastic moment. And what happens subsequently is all of the pirates, everybody that was resurrected when Sugar's powers were deactivated, they see Usopp, who's knocked out, and he can barely talk. He's slurring. He's like, over down. They think that he is a deity. They think that he is a god. They celebrate him as God Usopp. And you have this music. You have the light. One of the giants, like the LMAO giants, lifts him up, and he looks like Jesus, right? Poor Usopp, man. Poor Usopp. I mean, we have Usopp becoming a symbol of liberation. Hey, right on, bro. Right on. And Doflamingo actually puts out bounties on the most important members of the rebellion going on, including Luffy. Usopp, who has a bounty of like 200 million, like one of the highest bounties that's out there right now. It's just, dude, it's just ridiculous. But everybody's fighting. Everybody from the Coliseum, everybody is scrapping. There are fights everywhere through Dressrosa. And so the former Coliseum gladiators actually rally with the Straw Hats, and we have the Straw Hats, Rebels, and Gladiators versus the Don Quixote family executives. Now, some key highlight characters, you have Bartolomeo, you have Cavendish, who actually has a split personality, and you have Cavendish as well as Harjuden, Ideo, and more. Now, Cavendish, actually, I didn't talk about too much, but he is this pretty boy, and he wants all of the attention that the worst generation is receiving, and he's not getting of it. And so when he thinks to himself, okay, well, if I help the Straw Hats, if I help the new generation, they owe me, therefore their people will love me, and I will get their attention. So he's cool. He's goofy, right? He plays a straight man in most situations, but I like Cavendish. I enjoy him when he's on screen. So you have a bunch of different fights that end up going on. You have Zoro versus Pica, Franky versus Señor Pink, Robin and the Tontadas versus Treble and Sugar, and then you also have Kairos versus Diamante. But before we actually talk about those fights, we have to talk about Law's backstory with Doflamingo. Now, as far as flashbacks go in One Piece, sometimes I feel like they drag. Sometimes I'm like, dude, I kind of want to see what's going on. But One Piece's world building is so deep and dense. I enjoy them. I like seeing them. So I don't mind when we get a lot of One Piece flashbacks. I don't. It's just sometimes I feel like they run a little long. But here, I was not prepared for how good this flashback was, man. Oh my goodness. This made Law one of my favorite characters in One Piece. Straight up Doflamingo, more, maybe Doflamingo more. So Law as a child was actually dying from amber lead syndrome. Now the country that he was in had this white lead in it, this white substance, and it was in everything. People made it for bullets, they made it for buildings, they used it for a ton of different things. And the problem is because this stone, this material, it had poisonous properties, and unfortunately it ended up poisoning people generationally. So the older people that had it, they would have children, and then their children would end up having it and dying off sooner, and it was just a slow trickle down. And so eventually war breaks out in Law's home country when they find out, all these other countries, they find out, whoa, this disease is contagious. The disease is actually not contagious. It's just actually who had children. But all the other countries were like, well, we can't have this spread. Go obliterate them. Go take them out. Now, Oda does have a lot of commentaries on war and things of that nature, and I do like them. It shows the fact that even these countries that they think that they're doing the right thing, but they're still committing these atrocities, right? These people, they did nothing. They did no wrong, and they actually end up fighting back. Unfortunately, they end up losing, and Law actually has to hide in a pile of dead children, and he just travels, and he just finds wherever he can. And Law is broken at this point. His sister's dead, everybody he knows is dead, his family's dead. It's tragic, and this kid just has this glossed over look in his eyes. He's aimless. He's going to wherever. He's angry at the world, and he just wants to do something, but he doesn't know what. And so Law ends up joining Doflamingo's gang, and he ends up encountering this character, Corazon. Now, Corazon is Doflamingo's seemingly mute brother, who's a bit of a weirdo. He smokes, he ends up lighting himself on fire, he's a klutz, he's just kind of a weird oddball. And Law looks at him and he thinks he's making fun of him. He doesn't like him, and so he just has all this misdirected anger at Corazon. But eventually Law ends up stabbing Corazon, and instead of Corazon actually lashing out at him, he actually takes him in and he actually protects him. He doesn't say anything to Doflamingo and the rest of the Don Quixote family members. Now, it's odd. We're like, well, what does this guy have to do with anything? And we have a bit of a flashback with Doflamingo as well. So Doflamingo, in the previous video, revealed that he was the son of a celestial dragon. Therefore, he is a celestial dragon as well. And his father actually removed them from Marijua, the holy city, the sacred city, and actually wanted to put them out into the common world and actually have them live out a semi-normal life, to actually live like regular people. But because of all the horrific things that the celestial dragons have done, these people hate, the common people hate him. They cannot stand celestial dragons because of all of the racism, the slavery that the celestial dragons commit on a daily basis. This man and his children, who did nothing wrong, who just happened to have that blood in them, they end up getting tortured, they end up getting beaten, and they end up torturing Doflamingo and his family brutally. Now, one chilling moment actually that occurs in Doflamingo's flashback is where Doflamingo, Corazon, his brother, and their father are strung up, and you have all of these people, this mob surrounding him, saying, you did this, if you're such a god, if you're a god, you can take this, right? Now, I believe also it's implied that Doflamingo lost one of his eyes when one of the people shot an arrow at him, because he wakes up and you see the arrow actually go towards his eye. But when all this is going on, and you see Corazon crying, you see Doflamingo's father begging them to spare the children, Doflamingo isn't crying and sad, he is cursing and spitting at these people. He says, I will kill every single one of you. I will find each and every single one of you. Do you realize how disturbing that is, that a child, he's no more than 10 years old, a child at that age has so much vengeance and lust for death in his heart that in his seemingly last moments, he says, I'm going to kill you. He's not scared. He's not begging for his mother. He's not begging them to spare his father. He says, I'm going to kill you. Just, man, just, oh my goodness. It's just, it's perturbing, chat. It's disturbing. It's scary business. And so eventually Doflamingo is fed up and he actually kills his own father, who was trying to make a better world for, though, who was trying to make them better people. He ends up killing his father. He's like, you know what? No, I'm going to bring your head to Marijois, and I'm going to get my celestial dragon status back. Thanks. Real bad man. Real bad man. Anyway, so the pirates that Doflamingo ends up encountering, Treble mainly, actually understand that he actually has Supreme King Haki, and this was at a very, very early age. So it is implied that this can just spawn whenever. I don't think babies can do it, obviously, but it's Haki is a representation of your spirit, right? And actually manifesting it physically as well as, you know, audibly and visually. Dude, Doflamingo's aura, I mean, look at this, like, physically, his aura was absolutely maxed out when he was a kid already. And Law actually has 2 years to live with this amber lead syndrome, and eventually the Doflamingo crew actually let him join the family. And Corazon actually reveals to Law secretly that he is not loyal to Doflamingo. And Law actually is talking to Viola, and she asks something about his name, and he says that his name is Trafalgar D. Water Law. And I said, D? Huh? Law's a D? I was like, wait, what? Dude, Law is a D, and it started making sense. I'm like, why? Like, huh? So if you remember, the will of D, this is not confirmed or anything. Again, this is just a theory I have. The will of D, or people that are named D, these are all influential people that will change the world in some form of capacity. Gold D. Roger had it. Marshall D. Teach had it. Luffy. The list goes on and on and on and on and on and on. A dragon, right? Monkey D. Dragon, right? He has it. Like, but what does this mean? Apparently, what we find out later on is that all of these people are seemingly blessed by the gods. Now, this can be good or bad, because Blackbeard, you could argue that Blackbeard is blessed because he's doing what he wants. He's making a name for himself in the big world. He's accomplishing his dream. So it's not like these entities are inherently benevolent, right? So interesting. This is a very cool reveal. I'm glad I didn't get spoiled on this. Again, part of One Piece's appeal to me is because it's so big and so large, it's hard for me to get spoiled on every single thing that happens, right? So Corazon is actually working undercover for the Marines directly under Sengoku, the guy with the afro, one of Garp's homeboys. And Corazon actually shows kindness to Law, and he wants to save him from the disease as well as Doflamingo. And so he takes Law under his wing, and they go and see so many hospitals, and all these hospitals are saying, hey, this kid's gonna die, we can't do anything for him. Most refuse to outright treat Law. They think it's contagious. And Corazon is actually angry on Law's behalf, and he's actually just disappointed. He's like, hey, come on, kid, like, you got it, like, we gotta make it to the next one. This next one, we can make it. It's beautiful because Corazon saw what that kind of vengeance in your heart will do to somebody firsthand with his brother, and he didn't want to see Law go that way. Law had that same look in his eyes, just wanted to watch the world burn, right? Because of how hurt he was. He didn't want Law to go that way. He wanted to be there. Law has somebody in Corazon. Doflamingo and his brother, they didn't have that. Doflamingo took that from them when he killed his father. His father inherently misunderstood what their son wanted and what he was going through. So, very interesting. I mean, you see Doflamingo, he's like, why won't these people bow to me in the street? They should know how great we are, how great I am. Why won't they prostrate themselves before me? And Corazon didn't want Law to go that way. I like that, man. I like Corazon a lot. He's goofy. He's very heartwarming as a character. I like Corazon a lot. And so Corazon actually ends up learning about the Oppi Oppi no Mi, which actually has very, very, very prestigious medical powers. Now, the Don Quixote family actually want the fruit to make the perpetual youth operation possible, which would make Doflamingo immortal. Now, Corazon actually plans to steal it for Law instead, and he succeeds. He feeds the fruit to Law, curing him of the Amber Lid Syndrome, and this solidifies their bond. Law finally has hope now. Now, Corazon and Law were going for about half a year or so, and Corazon hides Law, and they try to flee, but Doflamingo actually ends up growing suspicious. Eventually, Doflamingo discovers Corazon's betrayal, and because of Corazon's powers, I believe, I forget what devil fruit he has, but he can isolate sounds. It's like make things like a whisper. He can just like take sounds out. So if like an explosion goes off, you won't hear it if it's in his domain. And so Corazon actually has Law hiding in a barrel, and he's actually speaking to Law while looking at Doflamingo. Doflamingo's like, what? And Corazon unfortunately ends up dying right before Law's eyes. And very sad, very tragic. He didn't deserve to go out that way. It's interesting, Doflamingo's family dynamic, because Doflamingo, he values trust. Betrayal is the one thing that he cannot stand. It's very weird because you see, if anybody talks about the Don Quixote family, he will snap on them. He was like, even when Pica talks and he has that super like squeaky voice, and if anybody laughs, they are put to death immediately. They're killed, right? Doflamingo is a ride or die for his family. But when it comes to betrayal, because you could argue he has so much love in his heart for his family, but it's not love, it's just demented. He has abandonment issues, right? Straight up. But he puts so much emotional weight into his relationships with people and the people that he sees as underlings, that if there's any sign of them disrespecting him or the relationship, he snaps. He can't handle it. So Doflamingo ends up fatally shooting Corazon, and in his final moments, Corazon ensures Law he is able to escape. And he actually uses his calm fruit, which is what it's called, excuse me, to keep Law hidden from detection. And Corazon dies smiling, protecting Law until the very end. So now we have a proper backstory as to why Law hates Doflamingo so much, and he has all this smoke for him. And dude, when Law is fighting Doflamingo, he ends up getting absolutely worked. He tries his best. Dude, Doflamingo does this move where he takes like his ankle to his like the back of his knee, ends up sawing one of Law's arms off. Oh my god, dude, that's one of the most brutal moments of One Piece. I was just, ooh, nasty work. Oh my goodness. So going back to some of the earlier fights, you have Franky versus Señor Pink. Now, I like this fight. So Señor Pink has this weird guy. He can go underground. He's wearing a baby suit, and you're like, why are you dressed like that? You're so what? Apparently, his wife, who ended up being in a vegetative state, the only time she would react and emote is when he would wear that and make her laugh. So he wears it in memoriam of her. Unfortunately, he did lose his wife and his child. And this fight is brutal. Like, they're both just slamming each other. Franky's taking all of his attacks. He's taking Franky's attacks. They're suplexing each other left and right. Like, it's a WWE wrestling match. Like John Cena would be proud of this, right? But there's two men, as wild and goofy as they are, this positive masculinity. There are two men respecting each other, and Franky actually proves his own strength, right? And Pink actually becomes a fan favorite. People actually really enjoy Señor Pink. Why? I don't really know. I mean, it was fine. His backstory was fine. It was unexpected, but I don't know. This fight definitely was not my personal favorite. It was bad, far from bad, but just wasn't my personal favorite. Didn't do that much for me. Then you have Zoro versus Pica. Now, Pica has the stone fruit to control massive structures and turning into a giant golem, and he uses to maneuver around his opponents, and he basically will leave someone to one side of the country to the other and then get back almost instantly. So Pica is a very annoying opponent to fight, and when he turns to this giant golem, one of his fists is the size of an entire town. So yeah, Pica is a problem. And so Zoro's trying to fight Pica, and Pica ends up just running him around. And eventually Pica's like, you know what? I'm just going to destroy you, King Riku. And he leads Zoro away. And he tries to kill King Riku, who is now freed. And people kind of understand that, oh, wait, you're not the bad guy, King Riku. We're so sorry. And King Riku is talking. He's like, you know, I did what I thought was best for our country. I tried to be a good man. I tried to help us avoid war and things of that nature. But if I die here for the cause, that's fine. And Zoro actually ends up hitching a ride on one of the pirates from the Colosseum, who is seen to be throwing people like cannonballs. And he picks up Zoro, chucks him at Pica, and Zoro ends up going flying, just and he listen to me. If you want hype moments and aura, just look at any of Zoro's fights, bro. Listen. I know what I'm going into One Piece for. If I'm going for a fight with Zoro, I'm not going for the good writing and the emotional beats and all that. No, I'm not going there for that. I'm going for hype moments and aura. It's like if I go to a Waffle House and I get shitty service and they're cussing me out every time I ask for something. 5 stars. You do what you do is anticipated. I'm already knowing. My expectations are met. Cool. Sick. Oh my god. And then, bro, what is the name of this attack that Zoro does? Hold on, Chad. Hold on. And then Zoro hits that Ichi Dai Sanzen Daisen Sekai. Oh yeah, the 3 billion. Oh yeah, dude, My ghost still got it, chat. My ghost still got it. Ooh, wee. Yeah, man. Then Pica actually gets sliced in half, and he actually tries to go up. Zoro ends up finding the one he's in, tries to slice him. Zoro takes care of that. And then Pica's like, oh, I got my hockey. You can't do anything with that. And Zoro actually is like, hey, bro, you think your hockey is better than mine? Nah, player. Yeah, man. Yeah, dude, post-time skip Zoro was so busted. Oh, we have a little flashback of Zoro training with Mihawk. And actually, this is the first time it's actually revealed that Zoro can use hockey. It was mentioned, I think it was mentioned offhand, I think in Fishman Island or Punk Hazard, I don't remember, that Zoro and Sanji can now use hockey through their training. We actually get to see how Mihawk trained Zoro to use hockey. So very cool moment. For some reason, the anime, they dragged this out into a whole thing, and they had the whole flashback with Mihawk versus Zoro. That was really weird. Again, I will look at the anime for certain key moments and things like that. I thought the Pica fight was gonna be just like one quick thing. No, they dragged it out for an entire episode. Like Zoro getting thrown, it was an entire episode. That's why I was like, oh, the pacing in this anime, like, it's ass. Oh my God. So there you have Robin and the Tontatas versus Treble and Sugar. Now Robin actually ends up supporting the rebellion. Dude, Robin actually is all over this arc as well. I really like Robin's inclusion in this arc. You have some weird fan service moments with the Tontatas and them gripping her chest meat. And I'm used to Oda's gags at this point. I know Oda's a pervert. I know Oda's kind of weird. You know Oda's kind of weird. You can't deny it. But I like Robin's inclusion in this, man. I think that Robin's highlight was Water 7 in Eddie's lobby. But I like to see her getting some shine, right? Up next, I would like Brooke. Brooke is pretty funny. I'm in Whole Cake Island right now, and Brooke's actually pretty funny in there, too. So I'm getting what I want. Chopper next, hopefully. Well, Chopper's in Whole Cake Island too, so I hope we get some more stuff with Chopper too. It's hard to balance out 10 main characters, right? Obviously you have Luffy, but you have this whole crew that you have to make sure that you evenly distribute stuff out to, so I understand. Eventually you have Robin and Bartolomeo facing off against this guy, I forget what his name is, who can blow up anything. And Bartolomeo actually, dude, Bartolomeo the GOAT, man! Bartolomeo the GOAT! Bro, Bartolomeo ends up just like taking some of these attacks and just getting right? He ends up getting up, and he is this guy with the barrier pistol. Ooh, he hits him with one of the Luffy specials, man. Bartolomeo, I rock with bro. I like him, right? He cool. He cool in my book, man. Look, Vice Admiral Bartolomeo, that's my guy, man. That's my guy. It's so cool seeing someone else inspired by Luffy's antics and everything. Especially just like as a real representative of how the fandom will view certain things of One Piece, right? Like Bartolomeo is literally the fans as they read One Piece, so it's very interesting to me. It's cool. So you have Kairos versus Diamante. Now, Kairos now returned to human form. He takes on the man responsible for his wife Scarlet's murder. And this is the emotional climax for the Rebecca's family arc. Again, this arc doesn't move me too much. Kairos is the most interesting part of that arc. Rebecca's just kind of whatever, you know. Doesn't really move me. I like Vivi more. Again, I talked about the whole princess thing. I feel like the thing with Vivi was done better. But you have Kairos fighting off Diamante with a little bit of help from Robin as well. And Kairos kills Diamante with none but straight aura, and he gets his lick back. Scarlet avenged. GG's. Go next. Also, one of the Diamante family members is this weird sea fighting bull hybrid thing that wears heels. I don't know what this thing is. He ends up just like goring a bunch of people. He's actually kind of scary. But then you have Law and Luffy versus Doflamingo and Treble. Eventually, the key to Law's sea prism cuffs are gotten to him, so he actually is now able to fight for the most part. He's still missing an arm, unfortunately. And even though he's mortally wounded, Law ends up trying to take on Doflamingo to avenge Corazon. And actually, it's revealed that Treble is actually just this really skinny guy in a big coat, which is why Luffy couldn't hit him, even though like he was presumably a Logia type. Dude, Doflamingo's rage, when he's so angry, he starts laughing. Dude, I love his voice actor. Dude, he's just this. It's the EH kind of laugh. I love that. I love him. There's so many up close shots of Doflamingo's face, and you see how angry he is. Like you see the veins starting to form in his head, and like the super dramatic shading on his lighting. It reminds me of Again, I know I compare a lot about Crocodile. Crocodile's my favorite villain. I'm sorry, but Doflamingo takes that title now. I absolutely love Doflamingo, but there's so many like times where it's just super the camera is so in Doflamingo's face, you can feel how angry he is. You see like the fire going right behind him. It reminds me of those moments where Crocodile would say something, and you see his eyes kind of like these slits, like, "Hey, Crocodile, duh." I just like I love how intense Doflamingo is, man. I do, and he has the power to back it up. It's not he's a fraud or anything. Nah, far from it. And so Law actually tries to get his lick back for Corazon. Unfortunately, he can't do it. He ends up frying Doflamingo's organs for a little bit with the radial knife, and actually injects him and he ends up frying Doflamingo's organs. But unfortunately, Doflamingo ends up repairing his insides with these strings. Now, one person I didn't talk about was Bellamy. Now, Bellamy wanted to be a part of the Don Quixote Pirates very, 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 very bad. And unfortunately, this caused him to do a bunch of things that he really shouldn't have been doing. Now, unfortunately, it caused him to be a menace in Jaya. This caused him to be a menace in the Coliseum. But he respects Luffy. He's not mad at Luffy for what happened in Jaya when Luffy is something the fuck out of him in Jaya until he beat his ass. And unfortunately, Bellamy, to make it seem like anything that he did was worth it, he fights Luffy as hard as he can. And he's just like, I've been a fool this entire time. This guy I respect it. I can't believe I did something this foolish. At least if I did this, let me live it out. I have to see it through as a man. And Luffy, unfortunately, he's trying to avoid hitting him, but Bellamy's actually, he leveled up and he's actually doing some decent damage. And so Luffy is forced to knock him out very similarly to what he did in Jaya, because unfortunately, before that, Bellamy was getting controlled by Doflamingo because of the strings that he uses. And unfortunately, he has to knock him out and put him down, and Luffy's pissed. This is the most we've seen Luffy angry at an enemy in a very, 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 very long time. Is there an enemy that has made Luffy this outwardly angry or like outwardly disturbed? I don't think so. Maybe Enadu? I guess, I don't know. But you have one of these really cold shots where Law is about to be killed by Doflamingo. He's about to step on him and crush his neck, and Luffy actually puts his foot right under to protect Law. Obviously, it's this really cool shot, and you get to see in scale just how tall Doflamingo is. Dude, Doflamingo is huge. He's like 7 feet. Like, he's like Broly size, dude. He is massive. And so Doflamingo and Luffy end up squaring off, and eventually Luffy reveals that he has a new power. He has Gear 4, which allows him to harden his body with haki but keep the elasticity of his regular, gum powers. And so he actually ends up overwhelming Doflamingo for a bit, but unfortunately he can't keep it up forever. It's kind of basically like Luffy's Super Saiyan 3, basically, but it's the weakening of like Gear 3, where he used to like inflate one of his like arms or something like that, but it's multiplied. He's exhausted. He can't use haki for, I believe, 5 to 10 minutes. So it seems like Luffy will finish the fight, but no, unfortunately Gear 4's time limit forces him to stall for recovery. And because of this, all of the gladiators and all of these people that the Straw Hats have made friends with end up having to fight off Doflamingo in order for Luffy to recover and actually finish the fight. Dude, this was so hype. The Birdcage is closing in on everybody. You have Zoro, you have all these people, you have the Smile Factory ends up getting like all the Tontados rebel. They're like, we can't do this anymore. And so Franky ends up having to push the Smile Factory, because it's made out of Prism Stone, end up trying to push against the Birdcage. Zoro's pushing against the Birdcage with Kima. The whole country is rallying actually against Doflamingo's efforts. They're no longer scared. They're actually fighting against him. And he's pissed. He's like, bring out Straw Hat, come over here right now so I can kill you. He's mad. He's hot. He's upset. Like, he's pissed. And everybody's just doing their best to get Luffy as much time as possible. It's interesting because Gats, even characters that are super minor and characters that you think wouldn't ultimately matter, actually can also be heroes and also can be of use in the story. So I like seeing that, and it makes for hype, right? It makes for hype. You're like, oh, we need Straw Hat up in 10 minutes. There's 9 minutes, people. 7 minutes, 5 minutes. Give him enough time to recover and finish the fight. And Luffy says, if you let me recover my haki and I can finish him in one punch. Also, Gear 4 allows Luffy to kind of fly. He's kind of like rebounding off the air or some nonsense. It's One Piece, man. Who fucking cares? But yeah, Gear 4 is absolutely busted. The problem is he has to use it in moderation. He can't just spam it like any of his regular abilities. He can't spam it like a Gum Gatling or even a Gear 2, right? Speaking of, also, did we ever see Red Hawk in this arc? Or Punk Hazard? No, we did. Why doesn't Luffy use Red Hawk? What happened to the Ashura? Ashura, yeah, what happened to Ashura? We haven't seen Zoro use Ashura in, hell, it was like hundreds of chapters. That's crazy. Oh my god, I'm hundreds of chapters into One Piece. I'm over 800 chapters into One Piece. Holy shit. Dude, I started my One Piece journey 9 months ago. Isn't that crazy? But eventually, Luffy ends up regaining his strength after 10 minutes, and he and Doflamingo end up squaring off for the final battle, and Luffy ends up getting the decisive blow on Doflamingo. Now, in the anime, there's this really weird, like, beam struggle that happens. It's weird because it's supposed to be that Gear 4 was way out of Doflamingo's league at this point. Again, I think that if Doflamingo didn't have the Birdcage going consistently, he could have taken him, because Doflamingo isn't shabby with hockey either. He's incredibly strong, but he's taking out a whole country at the same time that he was fighting Luffy, so I don't know. So with the Devil Fruits, you actually have awakenings. You can actually influence things, or basically level up your own abilities. So you can actually influence things, not just your body or like fire or something like that. You can actually affect like tables, like you can affect like other things. So like Doflamingo actually, his level up was actually affecting the buildings around him. It was like illusions, like melting things he had to touch. He just didn't have to touch them. He literally would just make the buildings turn into strings as well. It was crazy. So eventually Doflamingo is defeated with the help of all the people of Dressrosa. Again, you have this entire country who, instead of being fearful of Doflamingo, they actually all end up fighting back. Now, briefly, you do have some pirates kind of look at Usopp and try to come after him because they find out his bounty is so high, but it doesn't last for super long. They were just tempted. And Doflamingo ends up getting defeated. He ends up getting sent to jail. And funny enough, we have all of these different pirates. You have all of the Coliseum gladiators and all that, and these people have hundreds of men behind them. These are all super important people within the world of One Piece, and they all rally behind One Piece. And Luffy, in a span of a day, has a fleet behind him, the Straw Hat fleet behind him. Now, when Bartolomeo was like, "Oh well, you know, drink this, and we'll all be brothers. You'll command all of us." Luffy's like, "Nah, I'm good. I don't want to do. I'm okay. I'm good. It's gonna crap my style." Luffy wants a tight-knit group. He doesn't want to be in charge of all these people. That's not how he rides, and we should have known that by now. But over the course of this, in the past couple arcs, you have this recurring idea of liberation, right? Of freedom. Bartolomeo outright says, "Oh, even with this, he's showing off this freedom." Something's going on with that. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Because you have Dragon, right, who allegedly has freed hundreds of nations at this point. So, I don't know. There's this recurring theme that's coming up. So, I don't know. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think that is. Actually, don't. Don't tell me what you think. But then you have Sabo facing off against Jesus Burgess, one of Blackbeard's crew. And he almost kills him with the flame fruit. But he doesn't get it off. He defeats him, but he doesn't kill him. Again, I don't know. Sabo just doesn't really do that much for me personally. It's okay. But King Riku ends up getting back on the throne of Dressrosa. Everybody wanted him back. They're like, after years of Doflamingo's rule, people were tired of it. And so the Tontadas and King Riku actually reach another agreement, and everybody lives in peace. There's no longer the fairies. There is just people. There's people of Dressrosa. You have the Tontadas, you have the people of Dressrosa. Everybody lives in harmony once more. And so Kairos actually is now able to live a life of peace. He has gotten his revenge on Diamante. He's dead, and he can now have his wife actually rest in peace. So he goes off and he wants to distance himself from his daughter Rebecca, and Rebecca ends up chasing him out, and Kairos, he thinks he's a stone cold killer, right? Kairos is like, my hands don't deserve to hold my daughter. I've killed so many men. I'm not worthy of this love from my wife and my daughter. And Rebecca she's upset. He's like, why would you think I would just discard you over something as silly as that? Like, I'm your daughter. I'm the daughter of Kairos. You can't take that away from me. And it drives him to tears, and it's heartwarming. It's heartwarming. Again, the whole Rebecca thing, that's not my personal favorite in the arc. I don't hate it. I don't dislike it outwardly. I just think that everything with Law, I think, outshined it drastically, personally. Now, one really cool moment is you have Fujitora actually going up to King Riku, and they're kind of discussing what happened, And Fujitora, who has quickly become one of my favorite characters in One Piece, as strong as he is, he publicly apologizes on behalf of the world government, gets on his knees and bows down to King Riku in front of everybody, the citizens, pirates, everybody. And King Riku's like, whoa, dude, like you can't do this. And Fujitora apologized. He's like, I'm sorry the government allowed this to go on for so long. I'm sorry I had to let these pirates, these random people actually defeat Doflamingo because we couldn't do it ourselves. It was just it was wild, but this blew me away, honestly. So after the events of Dressrosa, after the Straw Hats managed to get away and everything, you have an individual who seemingly attempts suicide. He ends up trying to jump off from a sky island. The ground shakes as he crashes and leaves a massive crater, and he emerges completely unharmed. This immediately sets him apart. We're like, who is this? Why did he do this? This man was captured and tortured countless times. He has taken on tons and tons and tons of individuals. He's tried to take his own life tens and tens of times, but he cannot die. And this man is revealed to be Kaido. Now this sets up Kaido to be our next great villain, man. This, I mean, the amount of aura that he gained from this scene alone, yeah. Doflamingo's gonna be hard to beat though. I ain't gonna hold you. I don't know. He might have like a crazy backstory or something, but Doflamingo's him, bro. I'm sorry. So Kaido already, we have very, very, very high expectations for what we have to expect from him, and we know that his army is strong, just strong as fuck. Nasty. His lieutenants are just absolutely just monsters that we see on Zo, but that's for a video on another day. That's for another time. But Dressrosa didn't just end with the fall of Doflamingo. It sets the stage for Kaido, the so-called strongest creature. His introduction is unforgettable. Oda shows us a man who can't even kill himself, a walking disaster over the new world. So yeah, very curious to see what we got going on, but overall Dressrosa was fire, man. Dressrosa was heat. I love it. Law ended up becoming one of my favorite characters. All of them get to at least make an assist. He actually did massive work on Doflamingo. Well, yes, he didn't actually kill him. He actually weakened him enough to where Gear 4 was just absolutely just obliterating him. So good stuff. I like Dressrosa, man. Hopefully they remake it in the anime like they did with Fishman. I don't think that'd be really cool. There's a lot of moments I would like to see remade. But yeah, let me know down in the comments below what you guys think of Dressrosa. This review is long as fuck. I'm glad I split into 2 parts. Whoo! It's me, boy Daffy, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this video. Please make sure you leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. You want me to take care of yourselves, guys, and have a day. Peace.